Hello, so I'm going to go over 2.1 adding and subtracting equations with you guys today. So first thing that we're going to look at is just starting out very simple. So if we start off with the equation x minus 7 is equal to negative 19. So all we're going to do here is solve for x. So when we say we want to solve for x, it means we have to get x by itself on one side of the equal sign. So to do that, first thing we need to identify how to do that. So here, we know that if we get rid of this negative 7, we can get x by itself. So how do we get rid of that negative 7? Well, remember we want this side to cancel out. So we want this to end up being 0. So what can we add to this negative 7 to make it 0? So you have negative 7, you want to go to 0, so you have to add 7. So we can add 7 here. And remember, when you do to one side of the equation, you have to do it to the other side. So we're going to add 7 to this side as well. So now if you sit here, go negative 7 plus 7, that gives us 0. So that'd be like canceling those out. So now we just have to take negative 19 and add 7 to it. So if we have a number line, and we start at negative 19, we're adding 7, so remember that it's going to be moving to the right of our number line, so it's going to get closer to 0. So if you go negative 19, so you go over 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 spots. So we negative 18, negative 17, negative 16, negative 15, negative 14, negative 13, negative 12. So negative 19 plus 7 gives us a negative 12. And we can double check our work, because now we can put negative 12 in for x for our original equation. So negative 12 minus 7 equals negative 19. And that is correct. Okay, so let's go on to our next example. So we have 1 is equal to a negative, parentheses, negative w plus 6. Okay, like I said, we want to solve for w, so we want to get w by itself. But remember your order of operations. So the first thing we need to do is work through our parentheses. And so we have a negative one, or negative up front here. You can view that as a negative 1 parentheses. So you're going to take this negative, or that negative 1, and times it through each of these. So a negative 1 times a negative w is just going to give you a positive w. And then a negative 1 times a positive 6 gives you a negative 6. Okay, so now we want to get w by itself. So here, in order to do that, we need to get rid of this 6. So remember, we want that side to equal, or that spot to equal 0. So what can we add to negative 6 to make it 0? Well, we're going to add 6. And remember, what you do to one side, you have to do to the other side. So these will cancel out and become 0. Alright, so these will cancel out, giving us 0. And then we're going to move over here so you guys can keep seeing it. So and then 6 plus 1 gives us 7. So 7 is equal to w. And so now that we have that, we can always put that back into our main equation to see if that is correct. So you have negative 7 plus 6. So negative 7 plus 6, that gives us a negative 1. So negative 1 times a negative 1 gives us a positive 1. So that would be our correct answer there. Alright, so for our next example, we have 5 plus x minus 12 in parentheses is equal to 18. So here we can, because there's no multiplication here that is adding, what we can do is just get rid of this 5 first. So to get rid of the 5 on this side, since it's positive, we're going to minus 5 from both sides. So that's going to leave us x minus 12 is equal to 13. And then it's just like we were doing before. So we just went that extra step, and now it's just like our other examples. So we can just add 12 to both sides, because that's given this x by itself. So x is equal to 25. Alright, so here's our next problem. So at 1 p.m., Alex records an outside temperature of negative 14.8 degrees Fahrenheit. At 3 p.m., he records the outside temperature and notices that the temperature has increased by 22.6 degrees. So what is the temperature at 3 p.m.? Okay, so the first thing we need to know is our starting temperature, which was at 1 p.m. So we were at negative 14.8 degrees Fahrenheit. We know we increased it by 22.6 degrees Fahrenheit. Okay, so we have our starting temperature. We know how much it increased by. So now we can just add those together. Alright, and so when we add those together, because remember you're starting at a negative, and then you're going past, if you look here, if you just look at the 14.8 and the 22.6, so we know we're going to, if you look at that number line, we're starting down here at that negative 14.8. And since this is bigger than 14.8, we know we're going to go past 0. We got to figure out how far past 0 we're going. So then when you add those together, you're going to get 7.8 degrees Fahrenheit is the temperature at 3 o'clock. Okay, so our next question is the temperature at the summit of Mount St. Helens dropped 17 degrees Fahrenheit between 4 p.m. and 11 p.m. The temperature at 11 was negative 11 degrees Fahrenheit. What was the temperature at 4? Alright, so we want to know our starting temperature, and we know our ending temperature, and we know how far it dropped. So we know our ending temperature is negative 11 degrees Fahrenheit. And we know it dropped, so that was our temperature at 11. And we know it dropped our time at 4 minus 17 degrees Fahrenheit. So we have our ending time, our ending temperature, and we got that temperature by taking our starting temperature and subtracting 17 degrees, because we are told that it dropped 17 degrees Fahrenheit. So now we can solve for T4 here. So instead of minusing 17, we can add 17 degrees Fahrenheit to both sides. Okay, and then when you add negative 11 and positive 17 together, you get 6 degrees Fahrenheit was the temperature at 4 o'clock. Alright, I hope going over these examples will help you master this assessment. If you do have any other questions, please let your homeroom teacher know. Thank you.